had communication with Banks for a long period of time, right?
He couldn't even tell you, like, at any point when you speak to him, what the problem is. I put him, like, where I put Marquise.
You and Banks are not hanging out at the strip club.
50 Cent takes some responsibility for Lloyd Banks for toting Ayo.
What responsibility? Like a parent?
You're the leader.
What responsibility am I taking for him? Like, explain to me.
That you didn't encourage them to be independent
Nah,
sooner.
that's not true.
Lloyd Banks is finally breaking his silence about what really went down between him and 50 Cent. And this time, he's not holding back. He's calling out the disrespect, the half-truths, and the way the 50s have been rewriting their history. Junit was one of the most powerful movements in hip-hop when it came up, okay? And yeah, 50 was the facebot. Banks was the muscle behind the lyrics. His delivery, voice, and bars gave Junit real weight in the game. They moved like brothers, at least that's what it looked like. But once fame took over, things started shifting. 50 began publicly criticizing Banks, calling him lazy and saying he didn't want it bad enough. He even dragged him in his book, making it sound like Banks just quit on himself at the time. Banks stayed quiet. No interviews, no sneak disses, no Twitter beefs. He just kept his head down. But now he's done staying silent. In a new interview, Banks addressed everything directly. He said the lazy label wasn't just wrong, it was straight up disrespectful. And the part that stings the most, 50 wasn't even there when things got hard, according to Banks. During the darkest times in his life, 50 wasn't around to support him. And while 50 assumed Banks fell off, he says he never stopped working, just didn't do it the way 50 wanted. He stayed focused on music, life, and growth on his own terms. And now, after years of silence, he's setting the record straight. But you know how 50 moves? He didn't take it lightly. After Banks dropped that interview, 50 came right back with a shade of his own. It's like the bond they had means nothing. Now, fans are split. Some saying 50 helped build the brand, while others think he's been throwing his day ones under the bus for clout. So now we've got to ask, what really happened to that G-Unit loyalty? Was 50 telling the truth all along? Or has he been gaslighting Banks for years to protect his image? And where do they even go from here? Can this be fixed, or is it done for good? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next deep dive. You're all ready.
The guy has Lazy Lloyd tattooed on his arm. He literally wears his laziness on his sleeve. He's always projected an unhelpful mixture of being both introverted and cocky at the same time.
Lloyd Banks stayed quiet about what really went down between him and 50 Cent, but that silence broke after 50 took a random jab at him out of nowhere. Lloyd finally decided it was time to speak up and clear the air. It all started when 50 posted a behind-the-scenes clip from his tour on Instagram, casually name-dropping both Lloyd and Young Buck. But the tone? Definitely shady. It came off like he was mocking Lloyd for not making it as big as expected. And that didn't sit right with fans or with Lloyd himself.
They think this is something. But today see Lloyd Banks tour.
And that right there is what separates Lloyd from 50. While 50 Cent lives for social media and shade-filled interviews, Lloyd's never really played that game. He's stayed low-key off the internet and kept his peace until now. In a rare interview, Lloyd was finally asked directly about his relationship with 50, and he didn't hold back. He addressed the rumors, the disrespect, and especially that long-standing narrative that he was lazy. And you could tell this wasn't just about music, it was personal. Lloyd explained that during the time 50 was calling him unmotivated, he was actually dealing with something heavy, grieving the loss of his father. He said he was going through real-life pain, and instead of support from someone he thought was family, he got put on blast. Not once, but over and over again. In interviews, in books, even in memes, 50 made it a running.
Banks' temperament was definitely a little crazy. I'm not saying anything here that I haven't said to Banks directly. Another time I sat down with him, just when IG was starting to pop off, and tried to drop this gem on him. You gotta get on Instagram, I encouraged him. you can be a little awkward in person. So this is actually a better way for you to communicate with people. Nah, I don't want to do it, he said. Why not? You can literally put punchlines under your pictures, make some new fans. Nah, that's corny, he told me. When Banks made that comment to me, I realized he had gone as far as he can go. In fact, my exact thought was, this is someone I can't invest another minute or dollar in.
And while 50 did give Lloyd a little credit by calling him a decent lyricist, he didn't hold back on the rest. He claimed Lloyd just didn't have the natural charisma or the drive it takes to...
He's a very good lyricist. Among what are known as the punchline rappers who will end their bars with a funny or tongue-in-cheek line, Banks liked to call himself the PLK, or Punchline King. I don't know if he's the king, but I'll give it to him that he's in the conversation. He is not, however, a great live performer, stylish dresser, or a domineering personality. So if he doesn't check those three boxes, how is he going to get bigger and become the star in real life he is?
However, according to Banks, 50 was never truly there for him, especially not during the dark moments when support would have mattered the most. And for Banks, that betrayal cut deeper than any diss track. He also pushed back on the idea that he fell off. Since 2021, he's quietly dropped 3 full-length albums as part of his course of the Inevitable series. There were no major label campaigns or catchy radio singles, just raw lyricism, consistency, and a clear passion for the craft. See, Banks never stopped rapping. He just stopped playing the industry's game. That's really where the split between him and 50 started. Banks was never flashy, never chasing attention, and definitely not looking to go viral. He's a rapper's rapper, someone who values bars over buzz. And in the 50s world, that kind of energy doesn't work if you're not helping build the empire. Then you're seen as a liability. And Banks, he wasn't trying to be a foot soldier anymore. To understand how deep this goes, you've got to remember their roots. Banks, 50, and Tony Yayo all came up together in South Jamaica, Queens. These weren't industry-forged friendships. These were kids from the same block trying to escape the struggle through music. When 50's Get Rich or Die Trying exploded, he pulled his crew up with him. Junette became more than a rap group, it was a movement. When it came to bars, Banks stood out. 50 had the charisma and hooks, but Banks brought that cold delivery and intricate wordplay. Fans recognized that right away. It's mixtapes, money. In the Bank, Cold Corner cemented his rep early. Then came the hunger for more in 2004. Platinum in under a month. On Fire, Karma, I'm So Fly, all hits. At that moment, it looked like Gunit was an unstoppable force. You had 50 dominating the charts. Banks making his name as a serious lyricist. Yayo playing his part. And later on, Young Buck and Game adding more energy. G-Unit was everywhere: music, merch, sneakers, video games. But as the money and fame grew, so did the tension. Buck got booted. Game started moving rogue, and the whole crew started losing that tight-knit feel. That's when Banks began to withdraw even more. He was never loud or in your face to begin with, but now he was ghosting events, skipping press. And fans started wondering if he even cared anymore. But behind the scenes, the story was different. Banks wasn't being lazy, he was hurting. Losing his father hit him hard. And while he was grieving, 50 was out here calling him unmotivated in interviews, books, and memes. The public embarrassment was non-stop. And even though 50 claimed he did everything to help Banks grow, he also kept doubling down on the same disrespectful narrative. He said Banks didn't have the hunger, didn't evolve with the times, and didn't understand the business. But maybe Banks didn't want to evolve into something he wasn't. He wasn't trying to be a brand, he just wanted to rap. And for some fans, that's exactly why they still ride for him to this day. 'Cause in a world full of clout chasers and gimmicks, Banks stayed true to himself. And maybe that cost him some commercial shine, but it earned him a different kind of respect.
I had communication with Banks for a long period of time, right?
He couldn't even tell you, like, at any point when you speak to him, what the problem is. I put him, like, where I put Marquise.
You and Banks are not hanging out at the strip club.
No, he goes though.
But you don't go.
No, I don't see me there. We went to Atlantic City. We was in it was a showcase. They expect a show to happen.
Performance.
Yeah, we will see you at the show tonight. And I go, they expecting a show. Like I was like, yo, call all of them, tell them to come here. When I asked Banks, like, when you go to perform your shows, you don't do this song. This is the hardest record on your. And he's like why? Cause you want it? I looked at it and I was like trying to understand where he was coming from. He had been on my last record. He's like, I ain't been on your record, this and that. And I was like, so what? You don't have to be on none of my records. Like, me being on your record is the favor. I put you on a record with Eminem on my first album, fool. Don't nobody even know you. We were anticipating success, not as much success as we actually had. And it would have been sufficient if we had half the success.
50 claimed Banks had all the talent in the world but lacked the hustle to match. He even criticized him for not wanting to be on social media, saying it hurt his visibility and marketability. But for Banks, staying quiet wasn't a strategic move, it's just who he is. He's always been private, more about bars than branding, and he never wanted to play the industry game. To his core fans, that made him authentic. But 250? That made him a risk, someone who wouldn't help expand the empire the way he envisioned. Then came Hustle Harder. Hustle Smarter, a 50s book where he really let loose. He didn't just speak generally, he named names. He singled out both Banks and Yayo, claiming they were mentally stuck in the early 2000s, refusing to grow with the times. According to 50, Banks was too comfortable in his lane to set in his ways and too resistant to change. He painted him as someone with major potential who never fully tapped into it. In his words, Banks wasn't hungry enough. He saw him as a rapper who could have been massive but chose to stay in the shadows and in 50's mind. That was the biggest.
I was around 14 years old when Biggie and Pac were both popping. So that makes sense that they still resonate with him so deeply. I can relate. I still love the music from when I was that age too. The difference is I haven't patterned my career after KRS-One and Coogee Rap. What would be the point of that? They were both incredible in their moment. But I've always been concerned about creating my own moment rather than copying theirs. Years ago, I told Banks to film a video of his life and post it on YouTube. Introduce people to his lifestyle. Let the camera follow him around for a while and see how he moves. Maybe something he says or does will create a spark, go viral, and then he'll have some heat around him again. What I didn't want him to do was sit there writing punchline after punchline and then grow resentful when no one seemed to care about his mixtapes anymore. They say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Before adding Biggie and Pac didn't do that. They're dead, my man, I told him. They died before this stuff was even invented. And how do you know they wouldn't be posting on IG if they were alive? It was a line of thinking that really blew my mind. It suggested that if Tupac was alive, he'd still be wearing leather vests and red bandanas tied around his head, sending girls his beeper number. Or that Biggie would still be wearing Gucci sweaters and playing Mortal Kombat 2 every night. In Banks' case, a lot of his failure to grow as an artist is connected to his emotional composition. Banks grew up in the same neighborhood as me, but was never a part of it in the same way. I actually hustled with his father. Banks was more content staying on his porch and watching the world from there. There's nothing wrong with that, but it underscored a particular aspect of his personality. Banks wanted things to come to him, as opposed to going out and getting them for himself. That's not me trying to assassinate his character. The guy has Lazy Lloyd tattooed on his arm. He literally wears his laziness on his sleeve. He's always projected an unhelpful mixture of being both introverted and cocky at the same time. The kind of person most comfortable being a big fish in a small pond. If Banks was hanging out in the studio with a bunch of unknown MCs, he'd be very confident. He'd enjoy being the center of attention. But if I suddenly showed up, he'd feel like he got demoted. He'd be bitter. He didn't feel like the center of attention anymore. I get it. I can take up a lot of the air in the room. The problem is that he'd never fight to get some of that oxygen back, which is exactly what a star is supposed to do. I believe a true star must possess 4 fundamental abilities: create great material, be a high-energy live performer, have a unique appearance, and possess a strong personality. Tupac had all 4. So does Mary J. Blige. Chris Brown too. If I'm being honest in evaluating Banks, He possesses maybe one of those qualities.
This book was the first time 50 publicly created that much space between himself and Banks. It wasn't just light jabs or playful shade anymore. It was clear 50 was drawing a line, saying Banks didn't have what it takes to grow with the brand. And even though Banks stayed quiet in interviews, fans believe he responded through music. On his track Stranger Things, many picked up on lyrics that seemed to address the tension with 50 directly, showing he was aware of what was being said and how it felt coming from someone he once considered a brother. This is where Lloyd and 50's perspectives completely split. For 50, success is loud, big, global, measurable through impact and dollars. But for Banks, he's found peace in a quieter lane. To him, success is about doing what you love on your own terms and being able to support your family while staying true to yourself. And let's not forget, Banks isn't denying he had lazy moments. He literally got a lazy tattoo and even admitted in interviews that he heard 50's criticisms and understood where they were coming from. But in his eyes, acknowledging flaws and choosing peace over fame doesn't make you a failure. It makes you...
But when we came to the actual room, we talked about, I think I irritated him earlier, playing with the entourage. Yeah. With Mo and them, like, cause I look.
Is that true?
So Lloyd doesn't shy away from admitting he's more of a laid-back type of guy. But to him, that's not the same as being lazy. He's just never been interested in the drama and clout chasing that often comes with being in the industry spotlight. He wants to create music, release it on his own terms, and let it speak for itself without all the extra noise. But from the 50's point of view, that approach looked like a lack of hunger or drive. And that's where a lot of the tension between them really started to build. There's also the loyalty factor. If there's one thing the 50's always been vocal about, it's that loyalty is everything to him. In fact, in his book, he even said he'd rather be held at gunpoint than be betrayed by someone close. So when people in his circle, especially those he helped bring into the spotlight, start moving differently or distancing themselves, 50 sees it as a personal betrayal. And once he feels that way, he doesn't hold back. He cuts ties and lets the world know.
I'd rather be robbed at gunpoint than be betrayed. Not that I suggest you try it. At least getting robbed is exciting. There's an undeniable rush when somebody pulls out their piece and growls, "Get on the fucking floor." Once it's over, provided you don't get shot, you can go tell your friends, "Yo, they just stuck me up." Your pockets might be lighter, but you'll be much stronger overall, having survived the experience. Getting betrayed is different. You don't get a great war story out of it. I've never heard anyone get hyped telling their friends, "Yo, you won't believe this, but I just got backstabbed by my mans." There are no stripes earned for that shit. When you open yourself up to someone, either financially or emotionally, and they go left on you, it's a different kind of pain, even more dramatic than a stick-up kid physically taking something from you. Like Malcolm X said, to me, the thing that is worse than death is betrayal. You see, I can conceive death, but I could not conceive betrayal.
And the way 50 explained it, he truly believes he gives his all to the people he brings into his circle. He's the type to ride for you, promote you, invest in you, and even take risks for you. So when those same people switch up, pull back, or move in a way that feels disloyal to him, that's worse than death. It's not just business, it's personal. And when he feels betrayed, there's no going back.
Because I find betrayal so painful, I put incredible thought and consideration into the people who surround me. As I detailed in this chapter, when I was first coming up, I made a mistake of confusing loyalty and location. It's a miscalculation a lot of people make, wanting to believe that just because someone is from the same streets as you, that they're gonna have your back forever. I learned the hard way that that's not the case. I think everyone's a little afraid of being too trustful, but I'm definitely worse than most. In my life, I feel like I've been betrayed by people I deserve better from, people I've given money to, opportunities to, love to, even life to. Because of that, for a long time, the only thing I had faith in was money. I only trusted the paper that says, "In God we trust." This is one of the reasons the theme of betrayal is so prominent in my show Power. It's an issue that's always on my mind, so much so that I even called the last season the final betrayal.
So, it's not just about Lloyd Banks. 50 Cent has made it clear that he takes loyalty seriously, no matter who it is. Over the years, he's distanced himself from people he felt weren't on the same page, including his own son, Marquise. Their relationship broke down, and 50 felt like the loyalty wasn't there. Instead of trying to fix things publicly, he decided to move on. For 50, trust and loyalty are important, and once that breaks, it's hard for him to look at the relationship.
Actually, your son wants to sit down with you.
No, he doesn't. See, Charlamagne, you would call me. You don't call TMZ to say you want to sit down. Think about it, man. You know, you want some attention. And it's okay, you can have as much of that as you want. You know, it's just like he's been trained to believe, what you see him say in that interview, that what he was saying, he's been trained to believe that for a long time, bro. Like, you don't just wake up and say, oh, well, I don't believe what I've been believing forever.
But never be open to it?
No, I don't think the relationship works. Look, for a long time, Charlamagne, I went running behind him. I went places that he went, and he left the places.
So if 50 is willing to distance himself from his own son over what he sees as disloyalty, it's no surprise that even his close friends might not be safe. Tony Yayo, another original G-Unit member, was known for being one of 50's most loyal people. For years, Yayo stood by his side through everything, but even he wasn't untouchable. When whispers of disloyalty started floating around, whether they were accurate or not, 50 didn't hold back. He called Yayo out publicly, showing that in his world, any sign of switching up comes with consequences.
If you don't do it, like if I don't give him something that he wanted murder, then he's gonna go back to doing what we did. You remember saying that to me? You don't remember saying that? Yeah, tell him, you be telling Vlad all kind of I don't want to get into all that.
Look better than Vlad. You think you tell me the Vlad? My nice.
You don't even look like the same dude to me
nice
on
for them
Vlad.
stories.
Merc, this is the real shit coming out.
And then there's young Buck, back in the early 2000s. Buck played a major role in G-Unit's rise. His energy, style, and Southern influence helped the group reach a broader audience. But as soon as 50 Cent sensed any kind of disloyalty from Buck, things went downhill fast. 50 didn't just distance himself quietly, he kicked Buck out of the group publicly. And in dramatic fashion, diss tracks, leaked phone calls, and online jabs followed, making it clear that once 50 feels betrayed, there's no going back.
I think that's over. I think that's done, but
What do you mean?
I think his career is finished. You know what I'm saying? And it's because, like, his temperament, he won't actually get himself, like, right now he's in jail, but knowing who he is from the entire time that he's been around, I don't think he has what it takes to recover from, you know, like, it takes discipline at that point, because it's when people begin to want to give you resistance. Hip-hop culture is out with the old and with the new.
Who was once one of G-Unit's biggest stars, got hit with the same treatment. We all remember how messy 50 and Game's fallout was. It was one of the most talked about beefs in hip-hop history. So when 50 saw that reunion photo of Lloyd Banks and the Game years later, that was it for him. He saw it as a betrayal. In a since-deleted Instagram post, 50 reacted with some cryptic shade. He wrote, "What do you see when you look at this picture? I see confusion. I'm not sure if it's just me. I'm cancerish. Don't get old with me. I never ask for trouble, but I really don't have a problem with it. I'm different." He finished by asking the question, isn't how I feel about it, but how does Lloyd Banks feel about it? Some S*** is just better off left alone. So now that Banks has finally spoken his piece, do you think he and 50 will ever reconcile? Or has too much damage been done over the years? Let me know your thoughts down below, and check out this next video right here for more. Stay sharp and stay tuned.